I never imagined a single careless joke could destroy a marriage, but I learned the hard way just how fragile trust really is. It happened on a calm Saturday evening, the kind that starts soft and unassuming. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, catching tiny specks of dust floating in the air. I sat at the counter with a glass of wine, scrolling through my phone, while my husband, Mark, stood at the stove, flipping chicken. He looked relaxed, humming quietly, wearing that faded navy t-shirt I'd always tease him about but secretly loved. We'd been married for 8 years. Not perfect, not broken, just steady. The kind of marriage where silence wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It had simply become part of the rhythm. I don't even remember how it started. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe boredom. Or maybe it was that little voice that sometimes creeps in, whispering, "Say it, it'll be funny." Mark had asked about a friend's upcoming bachelorette party, Vegas or just dinner. I rolled my eyes and said lightly, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll just sleep with someone there. You know, for the thrill of it." It was meant as a joke. He froze. Just like that. The sizzling chicken became the only sound in the room. He didn't turn immediately. He just set the spatula down slowly, as if even that motion might shatter something delicate. "You think that's funny?" His voice was calm, deceptively calm, the kind of calm that hides something dangerous underneath. I laughed too quickly. "Come on, Mark. It's a joke." Then he turned, and the look in his eyes made my stomach drop. "You don't joke about that," he said quietly. "Not when you know what I've been through." And that's when it hit me. His first marriage, the one before me, had ended in betrayal. His ex-wife had cheated. He had trusted me with that pain. The sleepless nights, the vows to never let himself be blindsided again. I reached for him, but he stepped back. Just one small step. Yet it felt like a canyon had opened between us. "I'm sorry," I whispered, desperate. "Mark, I swear it was just—" He shook his head. "You know what hurts the most? That for a second, I actually believe you meant it." The air grew thick, heavy. He turned off the stove, wiped his hands on a towel, and walked past me. I thought he was heading to the bedroom, but then I heard the closet door creak. Hangers scraping metal. "Wait," I said, following him. "You're not serious." "Mark, stop." He didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He just packed jeans, shirts, his shaving kit. "Mark, please." I begged, panic rising in my throat. It was just a stupid joke. He zipped his bag, looked at me once, and said, "You made sleeping with someone else sound easy. Maybe leaving should be easy, too." Then he walked out. No slammed doors, no shouting, just the soft click of the front door closing. For the first hour, I sat on the couch, waiting for his car to pull back into the driveway. It never did. By the second hour, I was calling his phone straight to voicemail. By midnight, I had sent 12 messages, each more desperate than the last. None were returned. The next morning, his side of the bed was cold. His toothbrush was gone. His wedding ring sat on the dresser, the same one he used to twist when he was nervous. That's when I knew he wasn't coming back. Silence can be cruel. The house felt haunted, not by ghosts, but by memories. His chair at the table, his chipped coffee mug, the faint trace of his cologne in the hallway, and me, sitting in the middle of it all, realizing that one careless laugh had cost me the person who had loved me through everything. The first week after he left was a blur. I kept expecting to hear his keys in the lock. I even left the porch light on every night, a quiet invitation. But days turned into weeks, and that light became less a signal and more a reminder that he wasn't coming back. I tried everything to fix it. Long, apologetic messages, voicemails promising to make things right. I even went to his brother's house, hoping he'd be there. His brother just shook his head and said softly, "He's not ready to talk." That hurt more than I expected. Not just losing him, but knowing he had completely shut me out. For the first time in 8 years, I had to face a silence that belonged entirely to me. At first, I was angry that he left so easily, angry that one thoughtless joke could undo everything we'd built. But beneath the anger was something colder. Shame. When the anger faded, all that remained was replay. His face when I said it, the pause before he spoke, the way something behind his eyes broke. It wasn't the words themselves that destroyed us. It was what they reminded him of. Every insecurity, every old wound he had trusted me to protect. My joke had been a knife twisted into a scar I promised to keep safe. I began to remember the things I had dismissed. How he'd double-check his phone when I went out with friends. How he'd always say, "Text me when you get there." I used to roll my eyes at that, thinking he was clingy. Now I knew better. That was fear, the kind that never truly goes away. I wanted to tell him I finally understood, but there was no one left to tell. A month later, I found one of his hoodies in the laundry basket. It still carried a faint trace of his cologne, cedar, and something warm I could never name. I sat on the floor, clutching it, crying till I couldn't breathe. That's when I realized love doesn't always end in betrayal or screaming. Sometimes it ends in a single careless moment. He never blocked me, but he never replied either. My messages grew shorter until they stopped completely. I imagined him somewhere new, maybe at peace, maybe with someone else. I couldn't even blame him. Months later, I sold the house. It was too full of echoes, too empty of life. I moved into a small downtown apartment and started over quietly. I went to therapy. I journaled. I tried to make sense of it all. Once my therapist asked, "Why did you say it?" I didn't have an answer. Maybe I want to feel something, even if it was wrong. Maybe comfort had slipped into carelessness. Maybe I just wanted a reaction, and I got one I could never take back. Sometimes at night, I still imagine what I'd say if he walked through the door. I think I'd tell him I finally learned what respect really means, not just in words, but in restraint, in knowing when to stay silent, in holding someone's heart without mocking its scars. But he's not coming back. I've accepted that love doesn't always end with yelling or betrayal. Sometimes it ends with laughter, the wrong kind, a thoughtless joke, an empty house, and the soft echo of a door that never opens again. I don't drink wine anymore. I don't joke carelessly. And when people talk about love, I listen, because I used to think love ended in storms, but mine ended in silence and the soft sound of a closing door.